everyone, and welcome to Time and Money Mastery. We are your co-hosts. I'm Indiana.
And I'm Sam. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on any of our episodes. Now, let's get started.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Time and Money Mastery podcast. It's your co-host, Indiana here. I'm so excited that you have chosen to listen to this episode and take some time out of your day to hear what I have to say. So thank you so much. Today's topic is why savings won't make you rich. And I apologize in advance if you think that saving a crap ton of money is going to take you to financial freedom, because unfortunately, that is not the case. So let's talk a little bit about savings. You may have heard the saying before, it's not about how much you earn, it's about how much you save. I know I have sure heard this a lot of times, but I actually think it's incredibly misleading, because just saving money is never going to make you rich, at least not anymore. And let's dive into it. First of all, savings are definitely great. It's awesome. I'm always looking for ways to save more money and, make sure that the cash flow is up. It's absolutely essential. Trust me, cash flow and as an emergency fund, but holding onto cash in a savings account is definitely not great for building wealth. Not at all. Now, this wasn't the case a little while ago. Maybe your parents or your grandparents' generation, you probably hear them go on and on about, saving money and spend less. And while those are great principles, it's a little bit different now. So even just 10 years ago, savings rates were quite high, which meant that holding onto your money in a savings account would actually earn you a considerable amount of money. And thanks to compound interest, you could just keep saving, and the savings rate, along with the compound interest effect, would end up paying you really, really well over a long period of time. However, today, savings rates are considerably lower, which means that the same rule of saving and holding in a savings account for a long period of time is actually not going to have the same effect. It's going to barely earn you any interest over the long term. And in fact, it could actually send your bank balance backwards thanks to inflation, which is not ideal. Am I right? So interest rates are really, really low. And in fact, they're lower than the average returns of the stock market. So let's have a little chat about that. Basically, interest rates on savings accounts are often far, far lower than those offered by investments with similar risk profiles. So interest rates in the past 30 years have fluctuated from an all-time high of 17%. Could you imagine earning 17% on your bank account? Oh my goodness. To a massive low currently of 0.10%. And this began in November 2020 when the whole, COVID thing was going crazy, and it continues now to the present. So as you can see, a huge jump from, even past 30 years, our parents' time and our grandparents' time, they were earning a whopping 17% on their account. And now we are earning as low as 0.1%. So you can see that the cash rate and interest rates are extremely unreliable. They fluctuate a lot, like quite considerably. And, just purely counting on savings accounts is not going to build you wealth. So, for example, the average bonus savings account with $10,000 earned $505.98 a year back in 2011. So just 10 years ago, if you held on to $10,000 in your account, you'd earn $505 a year in interest, which sounds pretty good to me. But in 2020, you would earn, on the same amount, $10,000, you would earn just $114.72. This is a massive difference of nearly $400. So you can see how, the old principles of saving and holding onto your money in a savings account just don't really apply to our benefit anymore. So whereas in the past 10 years, there was a steady 7% average return on the share market. Now, this is an average, and of course, past performance doesn't indicate future performance. And, this isn't financial advice, and you need to do your own research. But just looking at the past 10 years, it's a very solid, consistent 7% average return from the share market if you hold your investments for that amount of time. So 7% average return from the share market, or a measly 0.10% from a bank account. I mean, it's just common sense. At least to me, it's like, do I want to earn 7% or do I want to earn 0.10%? It's a massive, massive difference. The median amount Australian Gen Zs and millennials have in savings is $10,000, according to Canstar's latest Consumer Pulse report. Baby boomers, on average, have 3 times that amount stashed away. So you can see the generational differences. On average, people around my age have about $10,000 saved, and people of the baby boomer generation have at least $30,000 saved. And this is probably, indicative of how savings rates used to be a lot higher and now they're a lot lower. So, maybe people aren't saving as much now, or maybe they're not holding savings in their savings accounts anymore because they know that they're not earning as much money. So there's huge amounts of money sitting in savings accounts, earning very, very little money, and probably actually losing a lot of money due to inflation. So, this is definitely something to consider. Do you want to hold on to your money in a savings account, or do you want to pop it away into carefully selected stocks that suit your risk profile? It's something to consider. Now, there's a quote that I love, and it's, "Ordinary people save to spend. Wealthy people save to leverage." Now, that kind of means that, the average Joe who doesn't know too much about money and wealth building will save money to spend it. So they spend their days savings. And the reason that they're saving this money is generally to spend it on something, to spend it on a new laptop, a new phone, to buy a car, buy a house. So that's what an ordinary person does. Now, wealthy people, the reason they are wealthy is because they save money, but they save money with the purpose of leveraging that money to buy assets and to buy other things that are going to give them a greater return on their investment. So rather than just saving to then one day spend and blow that money, they're saving to buy assets such as stocks or real estate or bonds, things that are actually going to make them money and give them a greater return. Now, I mentioned before that holding onto your money in a savings account, whilst there's, the obviously downside of a really low savings rate, the other reasons that holding onto savings isn't going to make you rich is because of inflation. Sneaky, sneaky little inflation. So if you don't understand what inflation is, it's kind of a complex concept. So it's kind of a complex concept, but basically it means that over a period of time, there is a decrease in purchasing power. So basically, the money that we have today decreases in power over time. And this is due to the rise in costs of products and services and your money sitting still. So basically, $50 today was worth a lot more 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, because costs of products and services that we have today were much lower, but the money, the $50 note, stayed the exact same. So the cost of products and services tend to increase and the value of our money sits still. This is basically the process of inflation. So according to the Reserve Bank of Australia, inflation rises approximately 2 to 3% per annum. So what does this really mean? It just means that if you hold all of your money in a savings account with a measly 0.10% up to 1% interest rate, which is kind of the going rate at the moment, you're actually losing money. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So basically, I'll just explain that again in case it was a little bit all over the place. So basically, over time, the cost of things that we pay for, like milk, bread, literally anything, those increase over time, right? But the value of the money that we have stays the same. It's stagnant. So basically, the purchasing power, the power of that money, the $50 note, is actually decreasing because it no longer buys as many products anymore. So basically, if the rate of inflation is going up 2 to 3% per annum, and your bank is only paying you 1%, for example, you're losing money. You're actually losing 1 to 2% every year that you hold money in a savings account. Now, I need you to just take that in, because that is really significant. And I don't see a lot of people talking about that. It's not just the percentage that your bank pays, it's also the risk of inflation eating into that money. So the rate of inflation is much higher than the savings rates offered by banks in our generation, depreciating the value of your savings. So it is unlikely that your savings interest rate will match, let alone beat, the rate of inflation. So even at the best situation, matching the rate of inflation so that your money stays neutral, you're not losing money or making money, that's not even going to happen anymore, because our rates are so low that inflation is taking over. So you really, really need to consider where you keep your money. Now, I'm not against keeping money in a bank account. That's not the message here. It's just for building wealth and holding large amounts of money, you need to reconsider it. So in conclusion, definitely keep your emergency fund in a savings account. You want it to be highly accessible in case anything happens and you need to access money quickly, right? So definitely look for a high yield savings account. That just means a bank that pays, the highest possible interest rate. I know at the moment, Westpac, I don't know what that was. Westpac Bank is offering 3% for under 30-year-olds up to $30,000. This is phenomenal. This is by far the highest rate on the market. If you fall outside of this age bracket, I'm sorry. I'm sure there's lots of other banks that, are equally as competitive, but this is definitely the highest. So keep your emergency fund, money that you need, accessible in your high yield savings account, but all other money needs to be invested elsewhere. Okay, so please take this into consideration. Seek a financial advisor as to where to allocate your money suitable to your circumstances, because no one case is the same. Everybody's individual. You all have different needs, but just take this as a lesson that only keep the money that you need to feel secure. Your emergency fund, usually 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, keep that accessible in a savings account, the highest yield savings account you can find, and keep all your other money somewhere else. Now, where you put that is totally up to you, and I would definitely recommend seeking financial advice. I myself have a financial advisor who helps me make these decisions. And just consider if you want to possibly invest in stocks, as there is a general 7% return over the past 10 years. So that is considerably higher, but you may choose to put it into bonds instead or invest in real estate. Can't make that decision for you, but definitely please take this into account. Do not hoard large amounts of money in a savings account, because you're actually losing money every single year. So if you'd like a recommendation to my personal financial advisor, I'm more than welcome to share who I use. He is phenomenal, and he has helped me so much, and he doesn't push any products onto me. He doesn't make commissions from recommending any products. He's purely there for advice and has your best interest at heart. If you'd like to do that, drop me a DM over at Time Money Mastery or my personal account, the_abundance_movement, and I'd be happy to share that with you. Want us to cover a specific topic on the podcast? Follow the link in the show notes to record your question in a voicemail or submit a question. So that's a wrap. If you loved today's episode, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and let us know why you loved it.
And if you know someone who needs to hear this, then send it their way and share it to your stories, tagging us at Time Money Mastery.
Feel like you're wanting just a little more? Jump on over to our Facebook community. You can find the link in the show notes.
That's all from us today, fam. We'll see you soon.